Chairman, my amendment would prohibit the use of funds by the Secretary of Interior for the purposes of implementing, administering, or enforcing any rule or guidance similar to the proposed guidance that the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management released regarding financial assurances for oil and gas operations on the Outer Continental Shelf. The federal government currently requires American offshore oil and gas companies to buy liability bonds ranging from tens of thousands of dollars to tens of millions of dollars for every offshore lease. In August of 2014, BOEM published an advance notice of proposed rulemaking seeking industry input on risk management, financial assurance, and loss prevention. Then, inexplicably, BOEM elected to circumvent the rulemaking process it initiated and instead released proposed guidance in August 2015 that creates new rules that will change the way oil and gas industry funds these decommissioning costs, also referred to as plugging or abandonment of wells, pipelines, or other facilities in the Gulf of Mexico's Outer Continental Shelf. The Obama administration ignored warnings from stakeholders that this proposed guidance could drive many companies into bankruptcy precisely at a time when the industry is suffering from commodity price collapse. A lot of workers in Louisiana and across the Gulf Coast have been laid off. BOEM has asserted that these rule changes are necessary to prevent taxpayers from being left with a tab for decommissioning work in light of a number of recent bankruptcy filings by OCS shelf operators. Well, ironically, BOEM's solution will likely trigger the major risk it's trying to protect against. If implemented, these changes will pose an existential threat to many OCS shelf operators, discourage future investment, cost thousands of jobs, and dramatically reduce the royalties to U.S. taxpayers. For example, under the new rules, each party would be assessed 100% on shared leases, and a joint operating agreement is no longer accepted as a reflection of actual liability. This means that if there are four companies sharing a project and it would cost an estimated $20 million to remove that particular platform, BOEM would then nevertheless require each party to post a $20 million bond to remove the platform. Now, it hardly seems necessary to require $80 million in bonding for a $20 million project. The new rules also require full bonding for all possible wells in the exploratory plan, despite the fact that the wells may never be drilled. And for those that are the P&A liability, in many cases, will not accrue for many, many years. For facilities already in production, BOEM will require capital assurance for the lifetime production value of the property every year, meaning that each year a lessee will be responsible for 100% of the P&A liability for every production facility, exploration activity, and production value. In fact, many of the industry experts have expressed concern that BOEM has not even provided a clear definition of the problem that the agency is trying to solve, nor has there been any justification provided as to the need for major changes to the existing regulatory framework. Experts throughout the industry remain concerned that if this proposed guidance were to be finalized, it would dramatically limit the industry's ability to successfully explore and extract oil and gas from the Gulf of Mexico. This new rule, guidance, or any other form of notice from BOEM on supplemental bonding will stifle oil and gas production on the OCS and throughout the Gulf of Mexico. This is not in the interest of the United States, and I urge adoption of